Hardware Marabah, Cascade Minimart, Kelly Supermarket, Digger Mountain Main Road, the Unit Trust Agency in West Mall. For more info, call the college at 622-1671 or the hotline at 491-1802. Queens Royal College, Christmas 3-car raffle.
It's Christmas time, and with your family you'll spend every evening watching a movie on WESN. The classics that fill your heart with merriment and cheer as we celebrate together the most wonderful time of the year.
This is my island in December.
This Christmas, WESN celebrates with you as the content capital brings the big screen classics.
Yes.
Gather your family and tune in to WESN from December 1st to 31st at 8 p.m. nightly for We Christmas Movie Classics.
Santa's coming to town! Santa! Oh my God! Santa here? I know him! I know him!
Only on WESN, Content Capital.
WESN.
Hello, Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Mark Anthony Peter, and welcome to Breakthrough right here on WESN Content Capital. As per usual, on the Breakthrough table, I'm joined by my co-host who never gives me a chance anytime at all, Mr. Sean Michael Smoke. Good morning, Sean.
That's not true. That's not true at all. I protest. I call for an arbitrator.
I don't think anybody showed up.
Let it be on the record that I protest that
Well,
statement.
it is on the record.
Yes.
Because this is what we do.
Yes.
Yeah? You overwhelm my nervous system sometimes, you know.
Probably.
A lot.
I am technically an introvert. All of this is unnatural.
You do television Monday to Friday.
Yeah, it's
How are you an introvert?
It's a learned behavior.
You know what? I couldn't also agree because I am
Exactly.
also.
You're also an introvert. That faint surprise. Are you really? We've had this discussion before. A lot of artists on stage are introverts, right? And insecure, right? And being in front of a camera, whether speaking or acting or singing or being a musician, it's all nerve-wracking. Any sort of public presentation.
Yeah, for sure, because the stage is can be quite intimidating. The public aspect of it all. Like, I can only imagine. Like, I sometimes imagine how visual artists must feel when they just see people, person after person, walking into their exhibition and looking at their art, and then just in the corner, like, oh my gosh.
So here's the thing. Let's juxtapose three situations. There's the visual artists with their exhibition. They get to see in full lights the complete physical reaction of everyone observing their work, right? There's no shadows or whatever. Now, when you're in musical theater, concerts,
You play a role.
right? But more importantly, more often than not, you can't make out details of people's faces, right? There's a good chance, at least not everybody. There's a lot of shadows, there's a lot of silhouettes.
And there's distance.
And then when you're in front of a camera, there's no face. There's if you take calls, but even then, that's anecdotal, right? You're not going to see the mass of people and how they emotionally respond, what their body language is, what they're going to say, potentially, right? As a visual, as a painter, a sculptor, any sort of artist in that medium, you could potentially even get like immediate feedback. Your painting sucks, or your painting is great,
That's great, yes.
right? And then, of course, here's the thing. Some positive feedback you always wonder, are you just being polite?
Ah.
Right?
Actually, so funny you should mention that. So it's no secret that I recently had a concert. I feel like for the past few weeks leading up to the concert, I'd mentioned it as many times as I could have, right?
Yes.
And it was a great show. It was a great show. And more to come on that later this season. We will sit. It was a great show. We'll sit and talk about it later. But I was having a conversation with one of my very, very close colleagues, and she's also a professional musician. And I was telling her that as much as I do appreciate the feedback from general public, but there's something about artists giving feedback to other artists. These feedback is very specific, right? So they can say very specifically what they liked, what they didn't like, and you kind of like very much value that. I don't want to say more because I don't want the general public to feel any type of way, but there is a certain sense of value that you hold, that you place on that feedback, because they're specifically outlining everything and telling you, and you know that it's coming from a perspective of, it's coming from the perspective of someone who's just like you, someone who's in the field, someone who's doing this as a profession. The audience, the general audience knows that they enjoyed it, right? They know that they loved it, they like how it looked, they like how it sounded, etc., etc. But then the artist that is in the audience can actually see, without actually seeing, they can actually see the type of preparation that went into it. They can actually take a guess at what kind of happened backstage, or how we kind of handled like technical difficulties and that sort of thing. And then when you get that feedback from other artists, it's like, this is great. This is great. You actually, there's some sort of value that you place on it.
There's a tangent though. Just as you said, how much work went into it. I think one of the things that's interesting is, remember when you said how with graphic designers, somebody knocks out a logo in 30 minutes and it's like, no, you're paying me for my 30 years of experience.
Right.
There are those performing artists who literally like, they do a one take, they learn the choreography, they do a 5-minute set the day before, they make all of these big adjustments. Like, there's a combination of sometimes you do the hard work for the show, and sometimes you do so much preparation and you're so good that it's not hard work before the show, but the experience you have kind of makes that part easy. But at the end of the day, it comes from that same situation where you still invested, right, into yourself. That said, I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. However, you have to be careful not to go too far down that path and lose sight of the audience perception, because you need them to enjoy the show. And I think a lot of modern, particularly in Hollywood, sometimes in music, right? I can't speak to musical theater and other mediums, but definitely certain musical acts and in Hollywood, you start to make art for artists. And it's like, yeah, but artists can't pay all the bills, right? They just can't.
So yeah, that's fair. That's because you also there's a certain balance. I will say, just for full disclosure of the specific situation, like this person, and as soon as we drop the flyer, she's like, I need this many tickets, right? So she's an avid fan and an avid supporter of it as well, right? So it's not she's kind of coming from both ends and
yeah, because sometimes all of that critique is nice, but if you could over-index on it, and you could lose the essence of what makes it enjoyable to the general public, right? Like when I say there's a certain amount of imperfection that you probably need in a live performance, you're like, no, I don't like that way. It's like, it's not mistakes, right? And sometimes trying to chase artistic perfection in the eyes of other artists is like, yeah, but when you're trying to make something entertaining, you want it to be loose, you want it to be free, right? And also, great performances, they're gonna have that looseness to them, that clutchness to them. You know, you don't want it to sound like a recording, even though, you know, as I mentioned before, they can make it sound like a recording, right? But you know, so yeah, that's it. Like I was saying, that juxtaposition is interesting. How you deal with different mediums and the potential feedback you could get and the emotion response then you have to deal with is interesting. I think one of the hardest things to deal with, which is more of an everyday thing, is having to speak to a room of people. Because a lot of jobs will have that, and the problem with that is you rarely get to see their faces, and it's just like a wall of, I don't know what, and you're just like, I just have to assume that they don't hate me and move on.
Correct.
I have no choice.
So that kind of, that segues nicely into an example and also into our topic. We're basically gonna speak about, so like artists spend their life training their skills and their talents, whether through training and whether formal training and experience and stuff like that. But one of the things that I find myself very much having to regulate is my nervous system, right? Because as an artist, you're in a vulnerable space a lot of times, right? When you're thinking of the ideas and you're putting things together, yes, you're in a vulnerable space, but you're by yourself. But when it comes to actually executing it, when it comes to communicating it to your team, can also be a vulnerable space. The process of getting the product together and then the presentation of the product. Now, there is a certain what's the word? There is a certain thing that happens where you kind of get into character a little bit, right?
Yes.
As a performer, and that sort of helps. What I felt, and bringing it back to the show that I had recently, a One Voice Christmas, I had to get out of character a little bit because just before the last song, I did the vote of thanks.
Yes.
So I no longer became performer. It was me as the director with the team behind me. Just I had to thank. So I had to be personal. I had to come back to me in that way, and that was a little bit nerve-wracking. It was a switch that kind of had to happen, and then I had to go back into character for the final song.
Because being personal, even though you should be personal in the performance, it's still a performance, and you practice the performance. How many times you practice that vote of thanks?
So
you didn't, right?
No.
You didn't, right? But no, that's fine. It's like who goes in front of a mirror and literally practice their vote of thanks?
I probably should have. I came up with it like the night before.
No. Listen, hold on. Like at some point, a rehearsed speech is not. It's a different or rehearsed performance.
Okay.
Fair. Right? A vote of thanks does not need to be a rehearsed performance.
Okay.
It need, a genuine vote of thanks is, I'm mentioning it because also, most likely you're going to prepare a speech and you would have probably forgotten somebody.
Yeah.
So, right? So people think, no, if you prepared it before and you would have forgotten, no, you would have probably forgotten somebody in the preparation, right? Right? So, and being organic at times is better, particularly, I think, when you're delivering speeches.
Yeah, but so, exactly. So,
does it make it easier for your nerves?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I think there's a side of it where you just kind of have to deal with, you just kind of have to find a way to deal with your nervous system on stage or during presentation. But a thought came to my mind. I was thinking about it for the past couple of weeks because I had a One Voice Christmas. Then the following Saturday was UART's chorale show. Right. So then there was performance, and then I was like, okay, One Voice Christmas is over. No, I have still had rehearsals for UE chorale, and then the show. And then I also have Lydian's Up and Coming. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. It's the regulating your nervous system with regards to how to navigate the industry on a whole.
Yeah.
All right. So it's not. I'm not just doing it. I'm not just thinking about it on an isolated stage incident, but I'm also thinking about it as in terms of from project to project to project, and thinking about what's coming next, and then taking the conscious effort to rest and reset before the year. Before the year ends, so that we're prepared for the next year.
Let's go back to a topic where people in the arts need to be multifaceted. They have to do everything for themselves. And I'm just saying, for someone that has to worry about their nerves, that then willingly takes on the stress of having to deal with all of the functions to produce a show, marketing, production decisions, directing, budgeting, blah, 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 right? And at the end of the day, I didn't even talk to the members about this. It's more like friends and family, not a lot of people, right? Just a couple people closest enough to the situation, right? Whereas like, we really wish Mark could be able to delegate more. And Mark is like, no, I can't because, I have to get all this stuff done. And I'm just like, you know what? That might be true, but if we want to talk about nerves, you can't tell me that all this extra stress is good for your nerves. Because one of the interesting things about, like in a lot of businesses, you have to invest up front and hope that your investment pays off. Even if you're a retailer, you have to buy stock and hope that it sells. But here's the difference. If I buy stock, it could stay on the shelf for a while. If it's food, it's a matter of days. If it's books, it could stay there indefinitely. If I have a show, the tickets have a very, very limited shelf life.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. There's a show, and then that's it. You can't come and get more tickets after the fact, after the show. So that investment now that you have to take to produce a show, which is very subjective, which at the end of the day, everybody needs food. Everybody needs shoes or slippers. Everybody needs clothes, right? You don't need a show. And how do you market that to people? Because it's not always something that people, if they don't know that it's available, they won't know to look for it. That's happened sometimes in businesses in Trinidad. Right. So that alone, just the financial business side of it is stressful. Yeah. But any production decisions and having to arrange everything and organize rehearsals and just the time investment. And here, I mean, yeah, longevity.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
I know.
Let's not have this discussion on camera, please.
Listen, we have already established Breakthrough as a safe space for you to work through your psychological issues.
I am blind. Cannot see my way. I understand what you're saying.
No, it's not easy.
It's not.
But you do realize the importance of it, right?
I do. No, for sure.
Because I think this is one of the areas where part of the reason why there are certain negative experiences in the space, I think it's a reaction to this reality and being unable to find a healthy way to solve these problems. Right. And sometimes it's not your fault. It's not the people's fault for not always getting a good solution, but it wears down on you. Right. And then, as you say, you carry that baggage with you. And your emotion response in future situations is informed by past situations. Yeah. Right? So that's one of those things where it's similar to being an employer. As much as you're technically not an employer, your group is not like that level of relationship. But with regards to delegation, it's not so much that you have to fire people, but you have to try and, go through the exercise of trying to find people who could do what, who could delegate what, who could take on what, how reasonable it is, how fair it is. Because the more this grows, the more you can't do it all on your own.
That is very true. So, but like you're absolutely right. I think with regards to navigating the industry, I think they're just, and I think this comes back to a topic that we had a couple, things that come with the job.
Yeah.
Right? Things that come with the job that you just kind of have to
And
deal
also
with.
if you could get a mentor or not.
Yeah, of course, right? So all of those things play into it because then once you're put into these industry situations when you have to make a decision, whether it be on stage or off stage, they have to make a decision to, this person was late for call time, this person was late, do I let them on stage, right? In fairness to everybody else, depending on the size of the group and stuff like that. If it's a small group, no, you just kind of have
This is not something one voice.
No.
Yeah, I just want to make sure people understand.
No. Everybody was on stage. Don't worry.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just thinking because I've had experience with different
other
choirs.
groups. Yes.
Yeah. So when it's larger scale things, you kind of have to make certain decisions, it's the whole consequence reward sort of thing. What's fair to some people, what's not, and these are situations. I'm talking. These are situations where a leader will usually have to make these decisions. But to someone who's a member, but if you're a member of various projects, jumping from project to project to project can be pretty overwhelming. But this is just the reality of the thing. This is just the reality of the industry, right? So I think but I wanted to shed a light on it because I don't think we consider. There's a lot of conversations surrounding mental health, and they're good conversations. But I think we as artists not forget, we have to take the nervous system into consideration because it's how the mind reacts, it's how the emotions react, it's how the body reacts to certain things, and finding certain mechanisms to help you withstand it. Because I could only imagine I can only imagine, especially the more famous people,
Yeah.
like what they go through.
Yeah.
Because there's the art in the studio, there's the art on stage, but then there's the extra stuff like the red carpets, the interviews, all of the pictures. At the red carpets, there are like 10 million people taking a picture all at once, right? The news articles, the interviews that you have to do, all of these certain things. And then if somebody gets something wrong, okay, let me create my own blog or let me create my own podcast so that I can clarify certain things so things don't get lost in the zeitgeist of everything. And then on top of that, with all of that, I still have to be great at my instrument. I still have to be great at my craft.
For celebrities, they tend to be like, not everybody could be natural and open.
Right.
So you either have the ones that are very nervous and they're very cautious. You have the ones that they don't understand the pitfalls and to be nervous, so they're careless and they end up having controversies, right? And then you have like, there's one instance of one K-pop female singer in a group. She basically debuted at 14, I believe, right? Or 15. No, 14. And she was basically the center of attention at 14. And what one psychologist has commented on is the fact that she doesn't just perform on stage. Her entire public persona is a performance. This pressure to be perfect. She has ramrod straight posture. She's a 5'7" Korean girl. Ramrod straight posture all the time, right? Constantly having certain over-the-top mannerisms, whether it's cute or whatever, all the time, right? Whether she's trying to progress, it's almost like if she's forced into this cage of I need to be perfect, and very rare, like this very, very rare clips of her just being, oh, she's like 20 now, right? She's still a young girl that to some extent didn't even have a proper, late teenage years, right? 15 to 19. She was a professional essentially, right? When you think about it, they have laws to kind of protect minors, but at the end of the day, she's working, right? She hasn't had kids moments. Right. All of her peers in her group are older than her. Yeah. She hasn't had that. So, it's not having healthy ways to cope. Again, there's some celebrities, they end up doing the wrong things, trying to find the wrong escapes, saying the wrong things in public, messing up their careers, or they're the ones that just have a shell. And then you have the few that are comfortable in their own skin, and that's why they're stars. But not every artist is going to have that personality.
You know what I think would be really, really good? I often talk about having artistic people on the administrative level, on the higher, making more administrative decisions, so that they could keep the artist in mind. It would be great if we have, I'm not saying regular mental health professionals can't do it, but I think there'll be something unique about someone who understands the artist and the artist's condition, having some sort of mental health aid specifically tailored for artists, because they know what they go through and things like that. When you mentioned the Korean girl, immediately, I don't know if you know the Lawrence brothers. So like Joey Lawrence, Matthew Lawrence, and Andrew Lawrence.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah. They do a podcast, and Raven Simone was on their podcast as well. All three of them were child actors.
Yes.
Yes. And it was a very interesting discussion, kind of seeing them. Matthew Lawrence was on like Boy Meets World.
Yes, he's the most.
Joey Lawrence is on Melissa and Joey, right, with Melissa Joan Hart, and Andrew has done. They all do a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
And they're kind of talking about how much they look out for the child actors coming up now, because they realize they didn't get certain childhood experiences, right? And sometimes the child are like, no, I want to work, I want to do the thing. They're like, no, go play, go do something. Yeah. Just don't work, right? Because they understand how overwhelming.
There's supposed to be laws to prevent that, right? To limit the hours.
Right. But I don't think there isn't any sort of, what's the word? Not regulation, monitoring of it, right? And to make sure that it's done. So sometimes studios...
So an American studio runs the risk of running afoul with the law, getting sued.
But the thing is, there's no like advocate on the set. So the children, remember the parents, especially if it's a parent that's not an actor, the parents are just kind of new to this. They're like, okay, well, maybe this is what you kind of have to do, or whatever.
One would hope you have a responsible agent. right? Also the parents.
Well,
But
remember-
look, like, you remember Wesley Crusher from Star Trek Next
Yeah,
Generation?
yeah.
Apparently, even the cast didn't know, and it only came out later. He had real drama with his parents. And he's not the only child
Right.
performer that had issues with their parents, right?
Issues in terms of
I can't
not being-
remember what it is.
But remember, like, there's a lot of these Disney child actors. They have a lot of podcasts and stuff like that, and they're sharing their experiences of how no one was really advocating for them. If their parents weren't in the industry, the parents just kind of pushed them more and more and more. You know,
parents
and
that like they
because
vicarious.
exactly, because they live vicariously through it, and also like some of the parents they don't know, right? So because they don't want to lose it, right? They just think, no, just keep pushing, just keep pushing, just keep pushing, not really thinking about the mental ramifications of that would show up later on.
Yeah,
right?
because there was one Disney Channel star, he had a show. He was an actor, a young African-American actor. Pretty good actor. I like the stuff generally that he did, right? I think he ended up, you know, making that final choice at some point, and I'm just like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah.
And there are a lot of child actors where, like Macaulay Culkin basically says, my girlfriend kind of saved my life.
Right.
Because look, what happened to him?
Who's also a
Disney
Disney Channel.
Like, look at what happened to him. He was one of the top stars in the world.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was the inability to transition to adult acting,
Right.
or if it was just, look, his life got messed up. And
I hear them talk about that a lot, where they transition. So like I've heard Tian Tamara Mori say this. I've also heard Kiki Palmer say this.
right.
They said the transition. Some people still see you as also heard Raven Simone, because remember Raven acted since she was like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Right. So
In multiple things.
yeah.
Throughout
Throughout her child.
minority,
Yeah. Correct. So like even probably multiple shows as a child at one time. The public perception of their transitioning from child to teenager, from teenager to adult, right? Sometimes, depending on where the public first meets you, that's the image that they have in their mind the entire time, right? So then it's like, they speak about a transition of trying to grow up in the eyes of the public and making sure that the public knows that they're an adult, while also not doing the overly salacious or the overly provocative type of roles, because it's just not in line with
Trying
who
to
they are.
overcompensate.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that this is the problem. Art is subjective, and how many adult performers, they have one thing. They have one show, they have one album, they have one single. You're not guaranteed a prolonged career.
Yeah.
So just because you're a child star,
Exactly.
you know, doesn't mean,
So I think
sometimes it's just because, look, whatever it is, you didn't find the project to keep it going.
So I think there's that fear that comes in. It's like, we're gonna lose it, right?
And I
so I think so.
there was some there was, just yesterday, it was an English performer, I can't remember the name, but it was a recent performer, how he was performing in pubs and bars, and then he got an album, and then COVID happened. And then the stress of COVID, no, the stress of his situation, because he was in his parents' like back annex, trying to do his sophomore album during the pandemic, right, or just after. And the stressy situation, he always had Tourette's, but he didn't necessarily have tics.
Right.
The stressy situation caused him for like 2 years to have tics when he tried to perform.
Oh, wow.
He couldn't perform, right? And it was only like maybe last year when he was finally able to overcome that. But like that's, you want an example of stress?
Yeah.
Because it's the whole situation where how his career was going was so disrupted by COVID and gave him so much stress because of the uncertainty for his livelihood. And now I need this album to do well. I need to be able to go back and perform. And for 2 years, he was basically physically unable to do it.
Yeah. As you mentioned that, just as we wrap up really quickly, I think something that maybe people just don't know, the number of artists that have things like, that are on various spectrums, right? So whether it be dyslexia, whether it be ADHD, whether it be some autism or anything like that. Like, there's a lot of us in the artistic
Or just
space.
antisocial behavior.
Well, no, I'm not just talking about behavior, but I'm actually
No,
talking
but-
about actual these sort of neurodivergent diagnoses. Like, I think, I don't know if people really understand how many of us there are. and how much of it is actually linked to the type of work that we do. Like how it actually allows us to be as, like how we are able, like when people, like they actual, like some of our artists, when they hear music, they literally visual, they see colors, right?
Yeah.
So other artists, they're like, so depending on what they have, it actually helps their skills. So now they have to manage it and regulate it, but still be able to function as an artist, because when we're in our rooms or when we're by ourselves, then we could relax. But then there's the part of the regulation when we're in public and we have to be artistic in public. But we kind of have to tap into that part. Like even when I play, because I'm dyslexic, so even when I play, sometimes the notes gets mixed up. Right. So then I kind of have to make a conscious effort when I'm performing to make sure that everything is done as well as possible.
Because you can't keep it private.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be public.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So, but it's something that is a conversation that we're going to continue all of the time, and it's an ongoing conversation that we can't really.
I just want to add
cover.
just one last thing, and in TNT, where in theory we have these industries that we hope to grow, right? And in some cases want to preserve, but also grow, like the Calypso industry, right? These stresses, a lot of it is because it's the unknown. When you venture into new ground, that's when all is stressful. Not everybody wants to be the pioneer and roll the dice and are comfortable in that space. Some are, some do it because they have no choice. I want to be an artist in an area where art is immature. I have to do it. And that and all could be stressful. And a lot of artists that break new ground, we kind of celebrate it without understanding the cons of that, the pitfalls of that. And that's why Mark is saying we do, maybe we need something, maybe, some mental health professionals might look to specialize, because I know there are performance type specialists for this. A lot of athletes and competitive sports especially. And I guess for the arts, it's not that dissimilar.
It's absolutely not. But we're going to take a quick break. Speaking of breaks, I probably need one. So we're going to come back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
3-car raffle organized on behalf of Queens Royal College. First prize is a Royal Ride Ford Ranger. Draw date Saturday, December 20th at the school. Tickets only $100. All proceeds for the further uplifting of the school. Tickets available at islandetickets.com. Sandbag Lotto opposite the Oval. Northern Hardware, Diggle Martin Main Road. West Star Liquor Mart, Moncoco Road. Top Office, Belmont. Hearty Foods Arima. Charlie's Anchor Cafe. Corner Anna Street and Aripita Avenue. Frankie's on the Avenue. Quasi Discount Mart, California. Universal Plumbing, Diggle Martin Main Road. Woodview, Tragrit Road. GAK Electrical and Plumbing opposite Starlight. Western Union, Tunapuna. VML Minimart, St. Lucian Road. Arthur's Minimart, Balandra. Alum's Pharmacy, Majuma Crossroad. Madison Bar, Diggle Martin. Auto and Lotto Shop, Long Circular Mall. For more info, call the college at 622-1671 or the hotline at 491-1802. Queens Royal College, Christmas 3-car raffle.
It's Christmas time, and with your family you'll spend every evening watching a movie on WESN. The classics that fill your heart with merriment and cheer as we celebrate together the most wonderful time of the year.
This is my island in December.
This Christmas, WESN celebrates with you as the content capital brings the big screen classics. Gather your family and tune in to WESN from December 1st to 31st at 8 p.m. nightly for We Christmas Movie Classics.
Santa's coming to town. Ah! Oh my God! Santa here? I know him. I know him.
Only on WESN, Content Capital.
If these walls could talk, they'd cry uncle. They didn't plan to become offices or yoga studios. But they've stood by us, even when we got a little stir-crazy. For that, they deserve some thanks They deserve Benjamin Moore.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
In the studio now, you don't need to register nothing. You don't need, we can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploited the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug.
You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we cannot have a stalemate.
You'll focus on the woman who's being the victim,
right,
or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
And welcome back to Jamaica to Breakthrough right here on WESN Content Capital. And we are joined by a very special guest because he is here to talk about the Lydian Singers presenting The Child Father, right? And here to talk about it even more, all right? The Child Father, Christmas 2025, the Nativity, Joseph's story, right? interesting spin on things. I'm introducing it as if I'm not going to be a part of this production as well. But you know, I do have show duties to do, right? So presenting to the breakthrough table for the third time, Mr. Mr. Siobhan Bradford. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Look, all that means is you're a professional and you have projects. This is good. This is a good thing.
For the third time.
For the third time. All right.
Happy hat trick.
Very good. So what can you tell us about this up-and-coming show?
Okay, so this year, the Lydian Singers presents the child father, Joseph's story. And we are taking an interesting spin on the nativity story. Usually, when we think about the nativity story, we focus on the baby Jesus and Mary. We just forget about Joseph and, you know, that the fact that he's actually a part of the situation as well. And what's more interesting to the production is that it's set in present-day Laventille. So therefore, if you think of the nativity story of a couple, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend, they are doing everything right. The girl is a virgin, the boy is toeing the line as a good Christian. And then, you know, she's pregnant all of a sudden, and we all start to wonder who's the child father. And then she gives you a story, well, you know, the Holy Spirit and an angel visited me last night. If you place that in 2025, sorry, that's not going to go off very well.
Like, even Christians will have a hard time. Even Christians is like, and it don't matter where you're from. You could be in Laventille, you could be in St. Clair, you could be Westmoreland. It's like, really?
Really? So, you know, so it's a very interesting story. It stands on, it's two stories taking place at the same time. One, we look at Joseph's story, he's the main character. But we also have the angel Gabriel, who is given this very important task. So therefore you are seeing, in the front, you are seeing this earthly realm, Joseph, Mary, navigating that. But you're also seeing in the spiritual realm, the angel Gabriel having to work, having to navigate this task. And we all know that, you know, King Herod was doing the most as well. So therefore, what is the source of all of these evil actions coming from King Herod? The devil. So therefore, you see in the background, you see the angel Gabriel and Lucifer having their own conversations taking place, and it's a mental game for Gabriel because the devil is basically saying, bro, you ain't able.
I'm starting to get jealous because I actually had that concept for years now, where if someone did like a work where you could have those characters in the background and how you could play off the influence in various ways in dialogue and music and so forth. So I mean, that has me intrigued. But I was telling Mark, we so don't really take on Joseph to the point where Saturday Night Live made a joke about it, right? Where they're like, you know, there'll be songs of Mary and there'll be songs of the three wise men, right? And then Joseph was like, what about me, right? And literally when the joke was made, I'm like, yeah, what about Joseph? Like, I didn't realize, but it's true.
Yeah, but one of the challenges for this production was to find music that centers around Joseph.
Right.
And interestingly, they are out there. It's just, it's not being highlighted. And actually, we found quite a bit of French influenced music, which actually led to us in one of our meetings deciding, well, why not look at French Creole music in Trinidad and Tobago, patois. And then, you know, randomly, we came across the Creole Mass in Paramin, and myself and a board member, we went to that mass and we were able to lock down and get someone to come and help us learn some patois songs that will be used as part of the production. And in going through, you know, the hymns and the songs, we also find quite a bit of music about Joseph. So it's, for me, it's very exciting to take that spin because we are kind of going away from the norm. Yeah. So therefore, we are definitely presenting something that's different, something that is interesting, because we all know Christmas, they're like a slew of performances. So therefore, every concert and production we try to put on, we literally spend meetings discussing how can we be different. So for the July concert, we looked at a different spin, and for Christmas this year, we are focusing on Joseph.
But with Christmas, I hate to say this, right? I've done the Christmas concerts for like a decade, right? You know the songs, I know the songs, y'all all know the songs. It's almost the same songs, right? There's the religious songs, and then there's the snow Christmas songs. And when you think about, okay, what is the new Christmas songs? right? There's not a lot of them. And half the time, you enjoy them as much as they annoy you, right? Because they're overplayed, because they're overdone, right? And they're usually too poppy, too modern pop, right? But now to have a new take on Christmas, like, what does that feel for you? Because my experience was performing it, it's like, oh yeah, when we do the same thing again, and the audience watches and listens to the same thing again, and we all kind of hope that everyone is okay with this. But sometimes it was hard to be like, yeah, this is something to chew on, because it's like, literally, we've done this 5 times before in the last 5 years.
Well, I think for me, and Mark and I had these conversations long after midnight when we were doing research for music.
Of course, yes.
Because it's like, okay, cool, you're going through the script, and yes, those carols obviously come forward because it's the same story. So therefore we start digging for repertoire. We are on YouTube. We are just Googling. And I'm very happy for this year's production. We are presenting literally 95% new arrangements. So therefore it's been a task for the choir. I thank them for their endurance, because even though we are presenting Angels We Have Heard on High, it's a very different arrangement.
So what was that? I want to let you. I want to let you explain what was that. Woo, right? Now I assume it's a good woo.
So it's so interesting how these things happen. As he mentioned, you know, digging through all hours, wee hours of the night, right? He said, he called me. He's like, I need a very, very grand arrangement of Angels We Have Heard on High. See if you could find one for me. It's like, okay, bet. Type. Went through. It's like, so I also have a method. If it doesn't grab me within the first 15, 30 seconds, next. I move on. Just because I've done it enough, right? I've done it enough, and especially
with your informed ear.
Yes, I've done it enough with my informed ear. But also,
let me just say this: that wouldn't work for me, because I tend to almost hate everything the first time.
Yeah. But you get familiar with, but when you see things from certain arrangers pop up, you know how it's gonna go. If you've done music from certain
even
arrangers
from Sting,
before.
my favorite artist, it's like, I need like 3 listens to get into it.
Oh,
But
okay.
all right, okay,
No.
fair enough.
So I'm like, okay, 30 seconds in, and then I found this great one. And then I listened to it, I was like, oh, this is sounding great. I said to Tim, it's like, oh, this is sounding great. And this is when I get myself in trouble.
Yeah.
It was in rehearsal. Looking through, I was like, you know, it's great. It's a wonderful, wonderful arrangement that I found online. Little difficult to teach. Yeah, that's what we realized.
To teach or to sing?
No, to teach. It's once you know your part, it's quite singable.
Yeah.
Right? It sings itself after a certain point. But
Try to simplify, because I'm very curious about this. What made it difficult to teach?
Because, so the first thing that I look for is sequence. Well, first of all, Angels We Have Heard on High, we know it has the chorus, glow, The chorus comes up at least 4 times in the arrangement, and it's done differently each 4 times.
That sounds like my kind of thing.
Right?
Boy.
So it's like,
wow.
So the first thing when we look at when you're teaching music, especially to a choir, you look for the sequences first, right? You teach the things that is repetitive first, right? So that you're going to be like, yeah, this shows up here, keep that in your brain. Now let's tackle the more intricate parts of it. It's intricate every single.
It changes. It varies
and
all the time.
And the key changes every verse and stuff like, and the time signature changes from 5/4 to 4/4.
You were thanking the choir for its endurance, so I have to ask, right? Because to me,
speaking of nervous system,
to me, and I know for a few of my peers, right, when we were in the same choir, we looked forward to new things. They don't always have to be hard, but hard also presented new challenges and more interesting things, because easy tends to be more boring. They needed endurance with the amount of the sheer volume, I guess, of new stuff they had to learn. But, you know, what was the feedback like from your members with a project like this? A unique project with new arrangements, obviously a unique concept, but hopefully also unique sounding material to perform. So, like, on so many levels, there's so much new experiences as performers. What was their feedback to you now, having to like, yeah, guys, the work is going to be worth it, right?
I think it's part of it is the relationship I would have developed with the choir over the last year, especially since I've been working specifically with the senior choir. I remember one of the ladies came up to me and she said, I really like the music you bring because it's new. So there are those who want to do something new. They love the carols, they want to hear them for Christmas, but they are happy that we are doing it slightly differently. Another lady came up to me, where you find that old hymn? That's a real Anglican tune, no long men hear that. But, you know, but there are those who, up to show day, I'm selling that story, like I'm marketing hard. And then it's not just a standalone choir concert, it's a full-fledged production, so you have other aspects. So therefore, you know, we have to keep asking them, just focus. Yeah. It's going to come together. We did it last year, so therefore we know how it unfolds. And sometimes you don't see the full picture until dress rehearsal.
Right, so when they get on stage and they perform it, because I remember doing Oh Holy Night was always our big number. It wasn't that enjoyable to rehearse because at some point you've just done it so many times. But then when you get in front of an audience, like you feel it and then they feel it from you and the response afterwards is like, it doesn't matter how bored I was in rehearsal, this was great.
So something that maybe people don't consider, when you're in front of any sort of group, when you're leading a group, you're in constant negotiation from beginning to at least till the end of the show, right?
To call back to the last topic, how stressful is that? Quick.
My blood pressure has been good this term. You know, my diet has been good. The thing about it, it's fun. It's fun for me because I get a lot of joy. My joy comes from the rehearsal process. That's where my joy is. I enjoy building the music. You know, as a performer, like practicing and realizing, oh, I could play this bar slightly differently. Oh, this could sound this way. That is where I get all of my joy. The day of the performance, I'm like, okay, it's going to sound good. Like I know, because I tell the choir all the time, the conductors have the best seats in the house because we know. And at that point, I'm just feeding off of the energy.
Also, you have the best audio in the house, probably. No, seriously, because the live plus augmented.
So the thing that helps with that, and it's coming back to my point in terms of the negotiation. When you present an idea to a choir, when you present an idea to an organization, and you present the pieces, you have to be so convinced that this is going to be great. And that has to show up in your rehearsal process as well. That has to show up because then that helps with the selling of it. That helps with the convincing of it. And then, because the goal is to get into, it's happening in Queen's Hall. So the goal is to get from rehearsal space on day one into Queen's Hall the week of the show. Because once things come together in Queen's Hall before the show, before the premiere night, then that's when you start to see people's faces light up. That's when you see the change. It's like, oh, I understand now. And that's when you hear the change because now they understand context. So they understand how this is supposed to sound in the context of the production. Now they understand that's why Siobhan, that's why Mark was asking us to do it this sort of way. You know, it's when you're doing a production, it's very easy to do that sort of choir variety show where it's just song after song after song. But when it's part of a story, when it's part of a production that has its own unique script, that takes some convincing.
To add to that, another thing that you have to take into consideration is how much information you share, because sometimes you don't want to overload the cast. Because if they're thinking about too many different things, they're not necessarily focused on what they have to do. So therefore, I always, as Mark said, I will explain that this is what's happening at this time. So therefore, when you're singing Let All Mortal Flesh Keep Silent, you are singing because Mary just got the news and she's not in a good place. So if you're singing into that. And then because I believe in the piece, I'm excited by the little things that take place. And in rehearsals, I start jumping up and down. Oh my God, did you all hear that harmony? Altos, did you hear that? altos, that's your moment. So therefore, you're constantly looking for little breadcrumbs for persons to latch on to. And one of the things I do when I'm planning concerts, because we have 3 different arms. So we have the junior choir, the senior choir, as well as the steel. Like when Mark sent me the Angels We Have Heard on High, I was like, oh, that's for steel. That piece is for steel.
To play the music?
Yes, that is, yeah, but the choir, that piece, steel is going to shine.
Right.
Altos, you're going to shine in this one. Sopranos, you're going to shine in this one. And I'm very happy this year, in addition to the French Creole music, we will be starting the concert with a men's piece. Because it's been a while.
I mean, I remember a while ago I went to a Lydian's performance, and you know, off the bat, the national anthem was a male quartet, and I'm like, that's a good way to start the show.
And my concept behind the men starting is that you cannot have a production about Joseph,
Yeah.
and the first piece be the Lord's Prayer, and not have the men bless the performance.
One thing I want to add, because I say this all the time about our previous organization, I think it holds true for any organization that is not commercially on a regularly production cycle, like every week, every month kind of thing. On some level, your main output is not actually shows, it's actually rehearsals. That's your production line.
Yeah.
It's rehearsals. In fact, in the NFL, a lot of former players say, they pay me to practice, I'll play for free.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because that's where the work really goes in.
Yeah.
Right? And now, to some extent, for the leaders, it's to get the cast now to really buy in.
Yeah.
Because I guess in a lot of cases, the schedules you're on, everybody has a 9 to 5. So there's a lot of extra effort to get these things done. And this sounds like a lot. And it sounds very impressive.
It is. It's great to be. And you mentioned the cast. Speaking of the cast, we have actors such as Kareem Ford playing Joseph, right? Curtis Gross as Nick, Antonio Modest as Gabriel, and we have audiences can also expect dance performances from Northwest Lavantil Cultural Movement, right? And let's just pull up that flyer where we have tickets are $300, and where you can get those tickets, you can get the tickets from any Lydian member, you can get them at the Queen's Hall box office. They're also available on Island e-tickets, and for reservations, you can WhatsApp the number on your screen. Tickets, all of the
tickets.
To reserve and purchase your tickets, right? All of the early bird tickets for both days have been sold out, right? So get your ticket get everything while it's still hot.
One question: the cast, the performers, the actors, are they also part of the musical performances?
We actually have one actor who is an alto singer, so that's another success story we have, because one of the things we have been trying to do is that, teach additional skills. So we have Renee Mitchell, one of our altos. She'll be playing a very interesting character. I'll just leave it at that.
Yes. Part of the appeal of this is you've not just modernized the nativity story, but you've also put a lot of local spins and influences on it. So it's to go to the show to see what the good people of the Lydians came up with. Right? Not just the new music and the new storyline, but also, hey, what are we replacing, all of the locales and the casts and the actions and the names with the local influences to give you that little extra spin. Of course, this play was written by
Bernard Shepard.
Senior Counsel.
Yes. Bernard Shepard. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, Bernard Shepard, Senior Counsel. Thank you very much for that. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I acknowledge, because this seems like, you can't have a project like this and not speak to one of the other creative minds on that end.
Of course. Also directed by Devlin Thomas, right? Also directed by him.
And Kwasi is our choreographer.
Yes. So, the Child Father, the Nativity, Joseph's story, a bold and moving perspective of the birth of Christ through the eyes of Joseph in a present Trinidadian landscape. Again, the show only runs for 2 nights only, Saturday, December 13th at 7 p.m. and Sunday, December 14th at 6 p.m. at Queen's Hall. Hope to see you all there.
I'll just say this, you want local art? You can't get more local art than this, right?
It's the Lydians. It's the Lydians.
No, but I mean, just story, concept, and I'll say this, I understand Trinidad and Tobago is a small market. I hope that there'll be room where you all could have more shows, a project like this, take it to maybe South, take it to maybe even Tobago, Just because, not Lydian's music choir, but local scripts, local concepts, local arts needs to be promoted. Yes. All right, sorry, I'm over time.
Yes, thank you very much. I gave him a little bit of an eye, but that's okay. Thank you, Siobhan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me again.
Of course, it's going to be great. Hopefully, I hope to see all of you on the 13th and the 14th. This has been Breakthrough. My name is Mark Anthony Peter, Sean Michael Small. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
WESN.
A 3-car raffle organized on behalf of Queens Royal College. You have a chance of winning a luxurious royal ride, Ford Ranger. Draw date Saturday, December